Hello and welcome to another episode of Recharge Wrestling. I'm Krusty and I'm here with Keeney.
Hey guys.
And this is our WWE podcast. We're going to recap and review in the build up to SummerSlam 2022. Very exciting time. Firstly, I just want to thank everybody. We had a massive influx of listeners on the podcast. So thank you very much. And please continue to listen. If you want to find us on YouTube, just search Recharge Wrestling. You'll find us there. And we also have a Twitter account at Recharge Wrestle. Please give us a like and subscribe, follow, and we really appreciate it. And we'll keep continuing to make you as good a content as we can. So we have had some massive news this week. It seems to have just kept flowing. We always say it, the moment we are on air, it seems something needs to come out, and then we miss the boat kind of. So I think this will release sort of Thursday night, Friday morning. So Keeney, do you wanna dive into that?
Yeah, sure. So this is potentially the biggest news in professional wrestling history. I'd go as far as to say, I think it came out Thursday night, probably whilst we were recording the pod. Vince McMahon left WWE. Just that in itself is huge news. But since then, we have learned that Triple H is taking over operations and
creative, isn't it? Yeah,
going to be running the shows like he did with NXT. And the black and gold NXT in Triple H's hands was the best WWE wrestling we've seen, I would argue, in the past couple of years. So that's exciting. I mean, I guess just straight up, what did you think when you heard Vince was leaving?
I kind of anticipated it. I know he's been sort of toying around, hasn't he, by coming on the show and announcing himself for no real reason. But since the things that were coming out in the press, it was kind of almost looming. It's a mixed bag, really, because he's made it quite clear he's still the majority shareholder. He's still going to have a bit of an influence, isn't he? The fact that it's kept within his family, with Stephanie being CEO and then Triple H's son-in-law in creative. But we know how different the way Triple H looks at things. And like yourself, with the sort of reminiscing of the black and gold brand, I think taking some of Vince's creative spark in the storytelling, but then bringing in Triple H's real desire for really good wrestling matches, more than a 5-minute disqualification, I think could really be something special. So I'm really excited to see what happens over the next. It's not going to happen. Well, it might happen immediately. SummerSlam could have some wild changes, but the next few months, I think, is really going to build, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think I think to your point, I think some people were maybe watching Raw and SmackDown this week thinking, oh, what's different? What's changed? But you can't really change anything too soon, because you're in the midst of a build to one of your biggest shows of the year. You just have to keep things going. I don't think we'll see the kind of effects of Triple H in charge for a good few months. If I think 6 months down the line, we might start seeing Triple H's WWE rather than Vince's WWE. But I mean, yeah, I'm intrigued, very intrigued to see what happens. I think anything that we see that's slightly different, we're going to think, oh, that's Triple H. That's Triple H's.
Any good match,
all over it. Anything that happens, like Ciampa have a good match on TV, we'll think it's Triple H. And it may well be. It's interesting to see, but the fact that Vince, it's a family member of Vince's who's in charge. He hasn't given it off to, he hasn't sold the company to someone. He's just, well, he hasn't, but Triple H is in charge of creative, and he's still obviously got the ear of Stephanie, who I think's got a big role now, CEO or co-CEO, isn't she? So I'm intrigued to see how much of an influence he still has, despite him not officially being in WWE anymore. So I don't for 1 second think he's going to have nothing to do with anything anymore. But I guess it's wait and see. I'm intrigued. We've been wrestling fans for a few decades now.
Many moons.
Yeah, and this is the first time ever we've seen not just WWE, but the landscape of wrestling without Vince McMahon involved. The first time ever. So this is completely unprecedented.
Yeah, completely
I mean,
different grounds, isn't it?
and we got like Tony Khan sent out a tweet, didn't he, saying calling himself the longest running CEO of a wrestling company, and like I thought that was in poor taste. I didn't think that needed to be said.
He's a nightmare, isn't he? I mean, it was
yeah,
slightly amusing, but he is the absolute disaster on Twitter. He
yeah,
needs
he's
to
just going
rein
to
it
get
in.
slaughtered for that. People are going to be, the thing is, a lot of people don't like Vince, but a lot of people do like Vince. He does, and even the people that don't like him,
He's
still
made WWE
still
what it is
respect him.
today, hasn't he?
He has, yeah. He invented WrestleMania. Like, you can't get a better legacy than that. He created The Undertaker. He created The Rock. He created Stone Cold. He is essentially why we all love wrestlers, because of what Vince McMahon has created. So ignoring all the personal stuff and whatever allegations, I don't know the ins and outs. But as a wrestling promoter, for the fans, I think he's been the best thing that's ever happened to wrestling, just on those terms. And I think Triple H has big shoes to fill, but we have seen him do really well with NXT, with a brand. He was let on his own. Him and Shawn Michaels were just let on their own in NXT and made it my favorite show to watch for a couple of years. And I think quite a lot of people's. So
brilliant, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, and it's gonna be interesting to see how that changes.
Interesting how just before this all happened, the PG-14 certificate came in.
Yeah,
because we know, looking back to Black and Gold NXT, it wasn't very PG, was it? It was pretty savage. You had some matches between, notably, Johnny Gargano and Ciampa, which it made me cringe and wince sometimes. So maybe we're gearing up for some of that, which I wouldn't be opposed to. Some of it coming across.
No, completely. And I think the timing of a lot of these announcements we've had are very well thought out. I mean, the fact that Vince announced he was leaving on just with a tweet rather than a big song and dance about it makes me think maybe he was pushed to some degree. But also he had Madison Square Garden's Raw on Monday, and he quit days before that, which is, one of the biggest Raws of the year, because, they always go mad for Madison Square Gardens. So
I suppose if it was really planned out, he would have announced he was making a big announcement or something like that at that show. And that would have drawn in. I mean, they were doing that for weeks, weren't they? Just saying, oh, Vince is coming, and to bring in, and it had like the biggest ratings. He could have done it again. So I don't think you're wrong there. I think they've got to a stage where they've said, right, enough's enough. You've got to step down now. But then again, they might have just been sorting things out in the background. There's probably a lot of things that need to be prepared for a changeover, for a handover to Triple H and Stephanie, both of which had stepped back not too long ago, which seems quite strange now you think about it, how Stephanie completely went, didn't she? Triple H obviously had health issues, but stepped back. And now suddenly it's like, right, in we go to the top level. It's not even so Triple H must be well, because if he wasn't, you wouldn't put him in arguably one of the most stressful jobs.
Well, and now he's got not just NXT, he's got everything now under his control. So he has a lot of stress in him, like you say. So I mean, I hope his health is fine, and I'm sure it is for him to take on this role. But yeah, interesting times ahead. And I think the next 6 months or so, I mean, just on a personal level, what does this do to Clash? Because maybe Vince had plans and maybe Triple H has got different plans, and maybe things change, because this is the other thing. We know how WWE's booking is. That's because we know how Vince books TV. All of a sudden, it's a bit different now.
I've already been thinking about SummerSlam, because we've had keep an eye out, by the way, on our Twitter for our predictions league.
Yes.
Even if you haven't joined in before, find us at Recharge Wrestle on Twitter. We basically have a little league going, a bit of fun, predictions for the upcoming pay-per-views. SummerSlam's a big one. It's arguably the second biggest after WrestleMania. So get involved. But as I was saying, I now have no idea, because I'm quite good at predictions. I think I'm second in the league. But I have always, as you say, gone from what I think Vince will do. I have no idea what's going to happen now. And like you say, Clash at the Castle, which we are stoked about because we're going to be there. What's going to happen? Who are we going to get wrestle? I'm expecting some absolute scorching matches. But I know Triple H has such a big investment in the UK. Obviously, had a big part of NXT UK starting up. So hopefully he really wants to impress. So we get a WrestleMania level card is what I'm after. Maybe without the celebrities, but I'm sure we'll get something.
Yeah, it's gonna be very interesting. Indeed. Shall we get on to
the review and recap? This moves nicely anyway onto SmackDown, doesn't it?
It does, yeah, because we had Stephanie McMahon open the show to just essentially thank her dad. Which
you got some nice Vince chants going
completely expected. It'd have been weird if nothing was said, wouldn't it? So I think something had to be done, and Stephanie's probably the person to do it, being his daughter. But yeah, I mean, so they were chanting "Thank you, Vince," and there's been a lot of I listened to a couple of wrestling podcasts myself, and I listened to one, but they have said was the people chanting, considering the allegations, is that a bit in poor taste, or is it just, I guess people aren't thinking, are they, about the allegations? You've
also got to remember a lot of wrestling fans are quite casual. They won't follow the news and the media. I know it's huge, but that's because we're involved. I don't think your average fan will know the ins and outs of what's going on. So, and it's very difficult to not get caught up in the moment, isn't it? And I guess these allegations are still allegations. I know they've proven that the money's been taken and things like that, but it's a difficult one. It's a really tricky one. But it's also, if you've got everyone around you chanting it, are you going to sit there all quietly? And like you said earlier, things he's done in wrestling in the past, it's been good.
Exactly. I don't think the word legend's a big enough word for his influence on professional wrestling. I think it goes beyond that, because people talk about the Mount Rushmore of wrestling, and Vince is almost too good for that, isn't it? Because he is wrestling essentially. Anyway, digressed a bit there.
Or was as of he was now, yeah.
Maybe not anymore.
But let's see.
Can I get into a top mark straight away? I'm just going to.
All right, straight in, yeah.
Kick us off positively, because it kind of does link on to what we've been talking about. And a story broke Friday morning, Friday morning US time, so probably during the day in the UK, that Brock Lesnar had walked out in response to the news of Vince leaving. He'd walked out of SmackDown hours before the show. And then there was like a meeting with all the wrestlers just to kind of make sure they're all okay, I guess, and make sure no one else was a flight risk and was going to walk out on the show. So we went into SmackDown, considering he was advertised for SmackDown, Brock Lesnar, not knowing what, and it made SmackDown really intriguing. And I don't know whether this breaking news or leaked news was a work, or whether it was leaked on purpose, or whether
it's always so difficult to know what's a work and what's not, isn't it?
Or if Brock actually left. But the reason I'm speaking in top mark terms is because at the end of the show, where I'd honestly almost forgotten that Brock might turn up. I don't know about you, but I watched the whole show. I wasn't thinking about Brock. I was at the start, and then as the show gets on, you kind of, you're thinking about what's happening. And I had back in my mind kind of forgot about Brock. So seeing him come out at the end just really, it surprised me, and it probably shouldn't have done. I'm an idiot. I shouldn't fall for these things, but I fell for this one. I just wasn't expecting Brock at all at the end, and the pop he got from the crowd.
It was massive, wasn't it?
It's huge, and I wonder how many
still
of them
so over.
Yeah, he is. But yeah, I mean, what did you think of that? Were you surprised to see him, or were you?
I was, because again, I thought he'd gone. I was actually thinking, how are we gonna? Well, one, is he going to be at SummerSlam? Is he gone? What are they going to do? How are they going to make this work? Arguably, their biggest match on the card is now not happening. Would have been a huge blow. And I was just thinking, to be honest, I thought it was ending quite well anyway. I thought it was quite good. that just topped it off. We might as well go into the main event. Since we're talking about it,
it was a 6-man, wasn't it? The Street Profits and Madcap Moss, the Usos, and Theory.
Yeah.
I think we had at the start of the show, Madcap Moss saved.
We had a small promo, didn't we, where it just ended up in a big fight between the
Profits and Usos and
Theory. And Theory, yeah, it was good promo. I know people get hate for him, but I'm actually really enjoying Theory in this. The way he's almost going for everybody, isn't he? He's really got no friends.
He's doing a really good job, yeah, and they are making out that he's got a lot of enemies, and that's quite cool. But actually, I think it might have even been you yourself who said you were concerned that Theory had no one. You know, Theory with a briefcase could be good, but no one's around for him to kind of stalk with the briefcase. But actually,
he's stalking everybody.
He has been everywhere.
Yeah,
and every time we see Roman, we see Theory. Every time we see Brock, we see Theory. Every time we see
even Lashley, he's around. He's everywhere, isn't he?
Well, this is the thing. He's got a US title match at SummerSlam.
And then you've got Ziggler hates him. Madcap Moss hates him. He's fighting with the Street Profits. He's literally going at everybody, which can only surely be building to him not being able to cash this in. I don't think they'll. I'm digressing slightly, but I don't think they'll have a failed cash in. I think he just won't get to cash in. I think he'll be on his way, and then something will happen. Because I think he's too good at this role to let it just go after such a short time. It just works so well. He's getting so much heat, isn't he? And integrating with all these different wrestlers.
Again, not to bring it back, but I think it's going to be happen a lot on the show. We're going to keep bringing it back to the big news. But Theory is an interesting one because you saw how he was booked on Black and Gold under Triple H, and he was a joke character, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was this dumb jock who didn't know which way he was going and spoke out of turn. And the way Vince booked him as Money in the Bank, title contender, top guy. I mean, ordinarily, when you associate an NXT and going up to the main roster, it actually goes the other way. So Theory's an interesting one where Vince booked him a lot better than Triple H ever did. And now Triple H is back in control. But I'm sure Triple H he'd be mad.
I don't think he's crazy enough to reverse what he's done, because I think he has done a good job. Again, I know people aren't too keen on him, but I think that's just he's playing his character so well.
Yeah, I think it's just really good heel work.
He annoys you. And he can be thrown around. I mean, look at Elimination Chamber, where Brock launched him off the top of the cell, off the top of one of the cages. It's mad. But I think it's the right way, because he's showing diversity. He can play a joke, and if you look at all the best superstars, they can do it all.
Yeah.
The characters Roman's had, they're nothing's like what he's had now. He's not really had a jokey one, but then you look at Seth, he has. Jericho, all these like amazing superstars. The Rock, they can do jokey, they can do. I know it's a tall order to compare Theory to these, but just in the sense that it's such a broad spectrum that he can do these comedy characters, and then he can be a serious wrestler and a good heel. He also followed Seth around for a while, didn't he? So he's really diverse. So I'm actually quite excited to see where his career goes. I'm not his biggest fan, but I just think he is good at what he does. And he looks the part anyway, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. But yeah, essentially that was, my top mark was Brock returning, not as much to match, because it ended in the DQ. In fact, Theory struck Madcap with the briefcase.
Yeah. Which I almost think, as much as I don't normally like that, it needs to happen, because you can't have Street Profits or Usos take a real lot, like a proper loss. It wouldn't make any sense. So use Theory.
Madcap, aren't they, a bit as well?
They really are. And
lose much.
He's thrown in these with the main eventers as well, which is good. We want to see people coming through. We can't just have the same people over and over and over. So
no, exactly. I mean, I think when Fisher got inside knowledge of the top heels on SmackDown, and Ricochet was second or something, I think Madcap Moss is probably if not first and second.
Unfortunately for poor old Ricochet, since he lost that belt, he's disappeared, hasn't he? Bless him.
He has disappeared.
Which is actually horrid. That shouldn't happen.
Considering the thin roster they have, I can't believe they're not using him.
I think Triple H will. He thought quite highly of him in NXT.
Yeah.
They just need to show his wrestling off. That is where he shines, isn't it?
Yeah.
His wrestling's great.
Again, a Vince trope was he wasn't big enough, and he needs wrestlers to be a certain size to be pushing them to a certain point, which is why maybe Adam Cole would never have worked out the main roster, because Vince wouldn't have pushed him to the point.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Triple H maybe has a different viewpoint on that, as we saw with how he pushed Adam Cole in NXT. He pushed
Strange. This is a really big segue, but you just mentioned Adam Cole.
Yeah.
I know this isn't the AEW part of the podcast, but I read earlier that Tony Khan has said that Adam Cole is in contract till 2027 with AEW. So there is no chance of him leaving unless something really goes pear-shaped and he wants to be bought out. So he's there for the long haul. Same as Malachi Black. He's got another 5 years on his contract. So yeah.
Well, again, I've read some reports on Twitter. So take it with a pinch of salt.
could be for real fake.
Yeah, take it with a pinch of salt. But you're hearing like kind of whispers of these released wrestlers who maybe are thinking about coming back because Vince isn't in charge now, and that everyone's mindset's just changed in WWE all of a sudden. People are thinking, well, actually, it's a different.
Well, the share price went up 10%. Everyone feels this is a good change, which is mad, really. But
and again, as much as I will praise Vince for his wrestling booking, because I think he's done an amazing job, but it had got stale. You can't argue that there
was a lot of the same
has
things.
Been stale for a couple of years now.
I mean, how many times have we seen Street Profits Usos? What happened to the women's titles? Things like that. Yeah, it needs to be changed. It does.
It does, and maybe I'm all for freshening up the creative side of it. And Vince was never going to give it up on his own accord. It had to take something like an allegation, or it had to take something to push him out of it. So, yeah, very interesting. Very interesting.
Anyway, let's carry on with our recap and review. So you mentioned, I was going to segue nicely earlier, but I can't remember what you said. Something about big guys. I think you said Vince always liked a guy who was massive.
Yeah.
Segue nicely onto Gunther and his and his colleague or partner. I don't know what you'd call him. Ludwig. Yeah. So you had Ludwig Kaiser versus Shinsuke. And do we know if this match is going to be? So we've obviously this was leading for an intercontinental match. If Shinsuke beat Ludwig, when is this match taking place? Is it at SummerSlam or is it going to be on SmackDown?
Well, Shinsuke lost to the Ludwig.
Of course he did. Yeah. So it doesn't even matter, does it?
Yeah.
Which is actually a bit of a shame. The thing is, I didn't read down my notes then, and I was like, hang on.
We're definitely going to get that match. I just don't think. I think it's going to be a TV match. Again, when's the last time they put the IC belt on a pay-per-view? They don't do it. Again, maybe that changes now, but
it really should.
For SummerSlam, it won't. I don't think.
No.
But that being said, I guess we've got one. Is it this weekend, SummerSlam? Yeah, we got.
Yeah, I wonder whether something's going to twist to get him a chance at the belt.
Yeah,
it just seems a bit of a strange build if you then don't have the match.
Yeah, I mean, I guess realistically, if it does get on the SmackDown card, it will probably be on the pre-show, because I think it's just not had quite
if
the
they
build.
do a pre-show
rushed. If they'll do one, whether they do.
It should be early on, but I think it could be good. But the reason I actually got confused and thought he won is because of the after angle, which was the interesting bit of this match, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I thought Shinsuke beat him.
No, this is an interesting one. I don't quite know where this is going with Gunther chopping Kaiser. I think it's
making him just a super heel, isn't it? Really, I don't think they're teasing a split or anything like that. It's way too soon. But basically, Gunther tells Ludwig to take his shirt down, and then almost teases that he was joking, but then gives him a real big chop. And as Fisher said last week, it's good that they're utilising this chop because it is probably the most savage chop in wrestling.
Yeah, I would say so, yeah.
It's insane. The only thing I can think is this is just building for somebody to feud with them over that. So a real baby face, stop doing that kind of thing. Whereas Shinsuke doesn't really care, does he? He just wants the belt. He doesn't care about Ludwig. I think you're going to have someone try and get in between them. Maybe the next feud.
Yeah, could be interesting. I mean, maybe Shinsuke could do that role if he
and his name is John Cena. Sorry, imagine that though, Clash of the Castle. John Cena versus Gunther. He's the sort of person who would come to the rescue, to be fair.
Yeah, he is. So something could just be my skid mark. I think I might give this a skid mark because I think
we're straight in on the skid mark.
I think this was a bit skiddy. I was about to bring something up, but it's a little bit skiddy. And I didn't have a skid mark coming into this recording. So we were promised last week to meet Maxine Dupree.
Okay, yeah.
We were promised to meet Max Dupree's sister, I think is what she was billed as. And it seems like she has replaced Max Dupree. So I know Fisher had his prediction of Ginny.
Yes.
And that would have made sense.
He was certain, wasn't he?
Yeah, maybe put some money
he convinced me.
Cost a lot of money, yeah. That's why he's not here today, the shame of getting his prediction so wrong.
He's no longer Fax Fisher. We've removed the title.
Just
Failure Fisher.
So we actually got Sophia Cromwell from NXT, who's been with Von Wagner and Robert Stone
for about a month.
And hasn't really said anything.
That was a quick call up.
And again, I'm assuming she can wrestle. We haven't seen her wrestle. We haven't seen her even get near to wrestling on NXT. Very quick call up. I wasn't massive on this promo personally. I wasn't again, because of the levels Max Dupree promos are. I felt like it come down to me. And already, if they're replacing Max Dupree with her, this group is already doomed to fail, in my opinion. I just don't see. I think Max Dupree is the only way it could have worked. And
I agree with you.
Hopefully, Max Dupree's still a part of it, and we keep it. But
Fisher mentioned last week that he thought Vince had fallen out with LA Knight, Max Dupree. I'm wondering whether maybe he was on his way. But what I'm hoping for is that Triple H has come in and said, I'm not wasting LA Knight on this faction. It's not worth it. So I'm hoping he's going to pull him for a little while and then introduce him as LA Knight and then actually have him wrestling, have him spitting fire promos because he's awesome. Any feud he was in NXT, although he seemed to lose everything, it was just amazing. So I'd love to see him on the roster, and I really hope he's not doomed to the release list.
I think there's less chance of that now. With Triple H in charge of creative.
Definitely.
I think so.
Although it depends how big the fallout was, because Triple H is still not going to want to upset Vince this early, especially, is he? So
no. Exactly. Like we said, who knows how much involvement Vince will still have in the short term. We got, speaking of feuds that go on a bit too long, Sheamus and Drew. Now, I love it when they wrestle, but they're just not wrestling. And this match was meant to happen 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
The Clash for Castle #1 contender match, which I think it's a bit weird to do before we even know who the champion is. I think you do that once you work out your champion because you don't know what's going to happen.
They just want a big build, don't they, to try and sell as many tickets as they can.
They have dragged it out, and now we have a Irish Donnybrook match, whatever that is, on SmackDown this week before SummerSlam. Sheamus and Drew, the winner is #1 contender for Clash.
So I did like this promo though. I thought this promo was pretty cool.
These two are great, and
they're a big deal for UK fans, aren't they? And it's a big deal for them.
they're both going to be on the card and they're both going to have decent matches, I think.
100%. I'm wondering, I mean, here's a little prediction. Maybe Sheamus, maybe Drew wins at Clash. He beats Roman. There's a prediction for you. Roman wins, goes to Clash. Drew beats Roman, and then Sheamus stops Theory doing the cash in. I mean, it's a way of getting him out there, and then they can have a big hug. I still am not writing off the thought that possibly Drew and Sheamus might tag within the next year, and I think that could be quite a cool tag team.
Yep,
I mean, you think back to Cesaro and Sheamus, they started like this constantly. They had like 8 matches, I think. They were absolutely incredible, and then they were one of the best tag teams in a long time. The Bar, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was amazing. And Sheamus and Drew are like quite long time friends outside of the ring. You know, they do get on really well. Like you see them on social media going to football matches together and the pub together, and they just kind of do what two lad mates would do. Well,
this promo actually sort of snuck into that a bit, because it mentioned Drew I think was speaking, and he said our first match was in front of 100 fans, and this one could be in front of 70,000. And then Sheamus said, I'm not going to lie, that's made goosebumps come up on my arm. I liked that bit. That was a real cool promo, showing that they've been in there and done it together from the start. It's an interesting story. I'm quite looking forward to seeing where this goes.
Yeah, I mean, do you think there's a possibility that they could just have a draw on Friday, and maybe at Clash we get a triple threat at Clash? I think
could
maybe
be cool, and there's also a way of Roman not getting pinned.
Yep. Sheamus or Drew pins Sheamus for the title. Drew doesn't get pinned, and then Roman is still unbeaten.
And then Sheamus still stops the cash in.
Yeah,
even though he lost.
Anyone can stop the cash in. Theory's got to have a line.
Everybody did have a big line, big conga line, stopping the. It
would be quite cool actually if they did that over like the course of a few weeks or so. He tried to cash in every week, and someone different.
Someone gets in the way.
Yeah, there's always someone different, and it's like, God, how many enemies my made?
No way, Jose stopping the cash in, number 50.
Well, I was thinking maybe bring back Johnny Gargano, stop the cash in.
Patricia from catering has just stopped the cash in. So something quite minor, but I suppose builds to a big match. We had Corbin absolutely blindside Pat McAfee, which ended up in a big brawl backstage. I'm really enjoying this. I am. I'm actually really looking forward to this match. Do you think they're going to let Pat beat Corbin? I mean,
my prediction is probably I think they might have Pat win. I think they're really big on Pat, and I think that's not Triple H or Vince, whoever's in charge. I think Pat has shown enough, and he signed a new long-term deal recently, and I think, I mean, they've got the history with the football background, playing for the same team. Like it's a perfect match. This match was perfect. The build-up, I think, has been near perfect. I just quite like the blindsiding, how angry Pat gets, when Pat was away, Corbin making fun of him, doing the Shinsuke entrance. Like it's just been really good build. And this is, I mean, maybe I would even say it's the match I'm looking forward to the most on the whole card.
Really?
It's right up there. I'm really looking forward to this one. So I think it'll be really good, because we say this every week, but we like Corbin in ring. He's a really good in-ring wrestler.
Yeah.
And McAfee hasn't failed yet.
No.
He's only been in the ring 2 or 3 times, but he's always really good. And I think he could be a really good opponent for Corbin. I think it could be a really, really good match.
Yeah. The only thing that makes me doubt Pat winning is the fact that Corbin hasn't really got the upper hand. Although he's been blindsiding him, he's not absolutely wrecked him that he can't get up. Like he walked away from backstage, didn't he?
Yeah.
Also, do you want one of your wrestlers losing again? Because Corbin just loses and loses and loses, doesn't he?
Yeah, but it's kind of Corbin's role.
That's
I mean,
his role, but it just makes him less credible when people beat him. That's mainly, but that's the same issue I have with Seth, constantly losing.
How credible do they want Happy Corbin to be? Would be my question. I think sometimes there is just a transitional heel who plays that role, who will get into feuds. Dolph Ziggler played it for a while, who loses pretty much every feud he's in, but he gets into feuds with people to kind of elevate them, and that's kind of his role on the card. And I think Corbin's perfect for that role. Sami Zayn's another one. Sami Zayn loses a lot, but he plays it really well. Even The Miz loses quite a bit, probably less so than the other two, because he does win sometimes. But yeah, I would say Corbin, Miz, and Sami Zayn are those three at the moment in that role of like that heel that just can lose. And I think Seth is a different, because I think Seth is maybe the best performer they have in the whole company. So I think that's a different story with Seth. But I think those three, I think they play a really good role. And I think they all do a really good job. I think Corbin's been amazing in this build. I think he was really good with Madcap Moss, even though that went on for quite a long time. I think
went on a bit too long, didn't it? But
and he really put over Madcap. He really put him over.
Yeah.
I look at Madcap. So yeah, I think Corbin can afford to lose.
So let's talk about some women's wrestling, I think. So we've got a few little things just to note. First one wasn't massive. We had a Liv and Ronda promo. Got a passionate promo from Liv saying she's going to beat Ronda, and then she's going to shake her hand when she beats her. I'm not sure on this match on who's going to. Can Liv Morgan really beat Ronda?
I think.
Do we have a big comeback here? Maybe.
Yeah. I think the only way Ronda loses is if it's because of a comeback.
Return of Bailey.
I think that's what you do, and I think that's how you move Ronda away from the title and give Liv a proper run.
Yeah, you can't let her lose. You can't let Liv lose, but also you can't probably have Liv beat Ronda clean.
You can't have Ronda lose clean to Liv, otherwise Ronda's mystique goes.
She doesn't lose to anyone clean.
No, Shinidi even beat Liv in a cash-in. Really, wasn't far off. So they must have something up their sleeve for this one. That's because it just doesn't seem like a matchup that makes sense. I don't think, unless they got something lined up, a comeback. Maybe. I
think Bailey's coming back.
It could be Charlotte Flair, though, couldn't it? We could have Charlotte.
Please,
again.
No. Please don't.
It could be.
You could bring Charlotte back because she has had the feuds with Ronda, get her to lose to stop Liv beating her. Do you then have Charlotte feud with Liv? But then will they let Charlotte lose at Clash? No, probably not. I think Liv needs that belt up until the Royal Rumble or something like that.
Yeah, I agree. I think she needs a decent run out of it.
And she's doing well. I know she's selling merch like crazy, so I really can't see them taking it off of her.
She's very popular, popular. Almost like more popular than I think she should be. I think the fan base behind her is massive. I don't know.
She's very likable.
Yeah, she is. Do you know what it reminds me of? Actually, it reminds me a bit of Becky Lynch's hype before she turned into Becky Lynch, when she was like, not on TV much and a bit of a mid-card act. That's what it reminds me of. And Becky Lynch has excelled.
Again, very likable. That's the thing. Yeah. She was a very likable character. So, I think they engage a lot with the fans, which really helps.
Yeah. So I think that's the goal for Liv, is to try and be the next Becky Lynch.
That's a tall ask, but
it is a tall ask. But
awesome.
I would say Becky Lynch was in a similar, if not a worse position than Liv Morgan's in right now. Well, definitely right now because she's champ. But even before she was champ, I would say
she's at the top of the tree now.
Yeah. So I actually think Liv Morgan is, it's up to her. She has to perform. But yeah, right now it's not credible she beats Ronda Rousey, and
you can't have anybody
a problem for your
Rousey.
champ. Yeah.
Maybe Bianca Belair. Rodriguez eventually, if she gets to that level, Rhea Ripley, somebody like that possibly, but still it's the way they've booked her.
It's probably Lacey Evans, I would guess, next up for Liv. That's my prediction.
And that's an easy loss. That's an easy win. Sorry, for Liv.
It is, yeah, and it's also an easy segue as well onto Lacey
It sure
Evans.
is. Yeah.
Voicing,
Poor old Aaliyah though. Poor Aaliyah.
I know. Like,
she just wants a match.
And do you know what's annoying about this? I mean, it's I think you guys said it last week. It's good that Lacey Evans now has a lane and she can stick to it. She's a heel, fine. We know now. It took 2 months for them to realize what brand or whether she was heel or face. They had no idea. Finally, we've got somewhere. But what we saw on SmackDown was odd because why didn't the match take place?
Is this the second time in a row now we've seen this happen?
Yeah, because the match was advertised, the entrances happened. Well, Aaliyah's actually, I think Aaliyah's might have happened on TV, but anyway, the entrances happened, and then Lacey talks and walks off, and then that's it. Just move on to the next thing.
Gives it a woman's right. That's Aaliyah down on the floor. The only thing I really liked about it was the fact she's calling people nasties again.
Yeah,
I like it when she calls everyone nasties.
Well, she's definitely a better heel than a face. I thought that face would be. I was interested to see it because we haven't. I don't know if she can do a face role, but yeah,
she did for a little while. I think she was right at it. Before the Ric Flair stuff, and she was pretty over, but the crowd saw through the cheap tactics to try and get her to be a face, which turned her into the heel. So it's actually worked quite well, I think. But yeah, it doesn't really matter this just at all, does it? It's just a shame Aaliyah's not getting a match, even if it's 2 minutes long. And the only other thing really on the card that I can think of, unless you had anything else, was we had Rodriguez versus Sonya Deville. Raquel Rodriguez. Really good match, actually, and a great win for Raquel. It's great to still seeing her being booked so strong. And I thought her finish is really cool. It just looks so powerful. She had Sonya up in the air above her head with one arm. She really is looking great, and they're booking her so strong.
They really are.
Really pleased with that.
Yeah,
I think that's literally everything on SmackDown. It was pretty average, but there was a lot to move things forward.
Well, it was an intriguing SmackDown because of the news and the Brock situation, and I think they just about delivered with the Brock surprise at the end. So, yeah, it was.
There's only one more thing to mention. Actually, we saw Jeff Jarrett, the special guest referee for the Usos and Street Profits. I just want to say he looks absolutely insane. He looks so good for his age. Yeah. He looks really well. I didn't expect that one bit. I mean, I'm not exactly a fan, so I don't follow him or anything. But when I saw him, I thought, wow, he looks great. And he's making it very clear that he's going to call this straight down the line. Isn't going to have any funny business. Do you think that's going to happen, or do you think
this is maybe the most random special guest referee of all time? I have no idea what's going on.
I think it's in his hometown. Fisher said.
Still makes. But why this match? Why of all the matches? Why is he referee of this match? It just seems completely random. The only thought I've got is he's going to do something at SummerSlam, and it's going to lead to a storyline coming off of SummerSlam. So my unofficial prediction is that he costs the Street Profits the match, and then he maybe manages Dawkins or something as like a heel, and they split up.
Okay.
It seems. I don't think
that's coming now.
I don't know. I'm trying to justify why Jeff Jarrett's referee, and I cannot do it without thinking there's a storyline off the back of it. Because if he's just referee, calls it down the line, there's a victor, there's a loser, and then we move on and we never see him again.
It's a bit random.
What the hell was that for? There has to be a reason for Jeff.
He's definitely
Jarrett.
getting himself out there though, because the next night he's wrestling with Andrade against Ric Flair.
Yeah, I know. I just cannot think for the life of me what the hell is going on. This is the most confusing.
It makes the prediction a bit odd because I thought Usos would possibly lose here.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said it on the podcast actually when the special referee was announced. I thought, Sami Zayn, this would be a cool role for him. Trying to get on the Usos bloodline's good side. Maybe he'll mess up or something can accidentally, cost you Usos the match, then there's that storyline there. That would have made sense. Sami Zayn's doing nothing else. It would have made complete sense, that storyline. But to throw someone completely random in who's not only is he not involved, he's not on TV ever. He's not part of the company. He's a Legends contract. So I just think there has to be something else to it. There has to be something happening off the back of SummerSlam.
I'll be interested to find out. So on to Raw is War, and this went off pretty quickly. You come out of the opening credits straight into Miz and Logan Paul having a massive fight.
Yeah, we didn't see this often. And again, I mentioned it at the top of the pod, but you're going to keep seeing things and thinking, is this Triple H? And I was like, well, this is different. Vince doesn't usually do this, but maybe just
it's Logan Paul though, so it is quite Vincey.
Yeah.
But I can't say I hate it at all. I actually Logan Paul impressed me when he wrestled at Mania. So
no, it is. I mean, the problem they've got is trying to get Logan Paul cheered because he's playing the face in this dynamic. And I mean, do you think they're achieving? Do you think Logan Paul is a believable face?
I mean it's a mixed opinion, isn't it, in the crowds? A lot of people don't like Logan Paul just because of who he is, but you can't deny he's popular. He's pop for good or bad reasons. He is popular, and the Miz just plays a good heel. He can't really play. Logan Paul couldn't really play the heel after being betrayed by the Miz at WrestleMania, could he?
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, I thought a way to make him more popular, and we did get a bit of backstage to have him in a tag team with AJ against the Miz and Ciampa. To me, that match makes more sense for SummerSlam.
Yeah,
because we did see him backstage with AJ for a bit here, and we obviously Ciampa's been with the Miz. But again, a one-on-one match, that's a big ask for a celebrity to pull off a one-on-one match. Most celebrities we see come in are in a tag team match because it's easier to wrestle a tag team match, I guess, because you're not in the ring as often, and it's a different psychology. In a singles match, he's 50% of the match, and I mean the Miz is an absolute pro, so he will help him through it. And I'm sure
he's also had quite a long
time
time to train. If they had this, they obviously had this in mind because of the way they ended WrestleMania.
Yeah,
so you'd imagine he's been training a lot. I hope so. I look forward to it anyway. I think the story's quite good. It's just one of those matches that I'm not massively fussed, but it's going to be fun, I think. Last time it over-delivered massively. So I guess this segues quite nicely onto the segment called Impulsive, which is Logan Paul's basically rip-off of Miz TV. And you just had Maurice come out and talk to Logan Paul, basically talk about how big or small his balls are again for the fourth week in a row.
Yeah, it's a bit much now.
Still amusing, but it's got to the sort of end of the amusement now. This is just something they've latched onto, isn't it? Because the crowd liked it. They've got T-shirts saying it. The lot, as WWE do. And then you get another attack by Ciampa. And they actually get the one up on Logan Paul, and Miz hits his skull crushing finale. Something that's really worth noting that wasn't on the show. There was a promo which our man Fax Fisher sent over to us in a private chat of Ciampa, really bigging up how big the Miz is, and he's the man who's the most popular, the best wrestler, this, that, and the other. And the promo was fire. They need to get this Ciampa on TV. He was really riled up. But yeah, great to see him actually being able to do something, even if it wasn't WWE.com.
Yeah. He has a purpose now, at least, because for a while he was not doing a lot on the main roster when he got called up originally. So it's nice to have him be doing something. And again, being involved with the Miz is never a bad spot to be on, I think, if you're on the main roster, because the Miz is always on TV.
Definitely. So, it's a very odd pairing, but it actually works so well, doesn't it?
Yeah. It kind of makes no sense as to why they're together, but yeah, it does. Actually, we can I can segue that lovely onto Odd
Speaking of
Pairings.
people that shouldn't randomly to be together.
Odd Pairings, we had a random tag team of Dolph Ziggler and AJ Styles for
This is throwing people together, isn't it?
some reason. God knows what's going on here against the Alpha Academy.
Shoosh. I still absolutely love Alpha Academy.
Yeah, I like Alpha Academy as well. they are good. But again, they have this role currently of not doing much, getting involved in like random people's stuff. They haven't really got their own storyline, have they?
No.
But we saw a win for Ziggler and AJ. So they, I always question these decisions when they have a proper tag team lose to just two random singles guys together. Because in my mind, the tag team should be better because they tag together all the time, so they should work better as a team. But
they've always done this, though. Always done this. The only time they lose is if they put two feuding people together.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Which I hate it when they do that. So I'm glad. Oh, you guys have to work together to get your match. I hate that. So don't do that ever again, WWE.
No, it's stupid. But
so random. Yeah, so
random.
Random.
What was interesting here, though, is we got Ziggler pick up the pinfall with a zigzag.
Yeah.
How often does he win match for zigzag?
They're pushing him again. I think this is his last hurrah, isn't it? He's on TV every week, winding up Theory.
Yeah, it's a weird one, Ziggler. If I was in charge of creative, and if you listen, Triple H, I am available if you want someone in charge. But if I was in charge, I'd have left Dolph Ziggler on NXT, personally. I think he had a great run there, and I'd have kept him down there to build all these people up around him. That's what I would have done for Dolph. But fair enough, they've given him...
It's intriguing, isn't it?
A face run.
There at the side with his suit.
Yeah, don't know what's going to happen to Robert Roode now. Big Bob.
Poor Big Bob.
He's being sidelined.
I think they should bring him back with the Full Glorious.
Yeah.
In fact, he was on Main Event, I think.
Yeah, didn't Fisher say?
Yeah, he's on Main Event with his Full Glorious attire. So I think that could still get over. Bring it back.
Yeah, it could do. I mean, he's great. I mean, he's another one. Why couldn't you move him to NXT again? So Robert Roode, he could have a run in NXT, go for the title. Maybe. Big Bob. What else did we have on Raw?
So something that was quite big, I guess, was the Mysterio's 20-year Rey Mysterio's 20-year celebration.
Yeah.
It's quite a nice, very good video package. Very impressive being able to stay in that business and stay relevant for that long. Really impressed. And he almost doesn't seem like he's lost it, has he? He's still very good in ring.
To the earlier point, especially given his size in the Vince McMahon company, he's tiny, and he's had World Championship runs, he's had Royal Rumble wins, he's had everything you could want.
David and Goliath, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, he might be the one of the few exceptions to Vince McMahon's general rule, and Rey Mysterio is an absolute legend of WWE and of just wrestling in general. I mean, were you surprised that we got no real... Did we get an interference in the actual promo itself? So I was expecting to see Edge here, and I think that's maybe what I think a few.
This was quite hectic, wasn't it? I mean,
yeah, there were a few segments.
We got the fake DQ, didn't we? Again, attempted fake DQ with them hitting the chair on the floor, and then they hit a double 619, and then an Eddie Guerrero frog splash, which was nice. And then we go backstage, and then Ray's gifted his 1997 gear by was it Dom who gave it to him?
It was his daughter. I can't remember his daughter's name.
I've forgotten as well, although she had a massive weird storyline a couple of years back.
Was Buddy Murphy for, wasn't she?
That was weird. But and then quite cool actually, Rhea appears.
Yes.
And gets involved. This was cool. I like it when they mix in. Yeah, they really did need it, didn't they?
Yeah.
Pulls Dominik into the hallway. I mean, I love it when you have these really awesome, powerful women wrestlers like getting involved with men. It's like China back in the day.
Yeah.
It just brings a whole new dynamic, doesn't it? And then Judgment Day obviously get a beat down on Rey and Dom. So I have a prediction here.
Oh,
It's quite a far-fetched one. So I think that I don't know who's going to win here. I think Judgment Day may beat Mysterio's, and then they're going to try and savagely beat up Rey. I think Edge will then save Rey. I think that's what's going to happen here. And then I think you might get like a tag team, like an alliance with that occasionally tag between Edge and Rey Mysterio. And I think this is how you turn Dominik. I then think Dominik wears that purple 1997 gear that was gifted and joins Judgment Day.
Yeah, that's a great shout.
Because that's like their colours, isn't it? Dark, dingy. So he wears it. So he's Dark Mysterio. He's in the Judgment Day. I mean, it's a far-fetched prep, but
I think that's bang on. I'm all behind that. I think
Triple H.
That's a great
don't
shout.
worry about Keeney. Sack him.
I'm
here.
get Krusty in. That's a fantastic. I think you might be on something there, because you know what? When Rey was cutting his promo in the ring, the whole time I'm thinking Dominik's going to turn in a minute. I was waiting for Dominik to do something, and nothing happened. And I was I don't know if it was just me, but I just really thought. I mean, because how often
we thought about a year or two ago, didn't we, that he was going to turn?
Yeah, and I like that they did the last week with Dominik actually saying, yes, I'll join. And they're like, no, we don't want you to join this way, sort of thing. So I think he's going to realise that his dad is a...
this is the way to elevate him, isn't it? And actually establish him as a superstar on his own.
Yeah, and this way you get some great storylines. You get, not only do you get Edge and Rey as a tag team, and Edge and Rey v the Judgment Day, which is, again, Edge and the Judgment Day.
Yeah.
But you also get Rey versus Dominik. Like the
it's
matches,
crazy, isn't it? The dynamic.
This could keep you going for like 3 or 4 pay-per-views, because there's so many different variants and matches. Yeah. Maybe you get a female involved on Edge and Rey's side as well, Beth Phoenix or something.
And this turn doesn't have to happen for a while. This can happen at day one. You could wait for the turn to happen at day one. The jealousy builds between Rey and Edge because of the tag team.
Dominik and Rey.
Dominik and Rey, but because they're tag teaming. Yeah, Edge and Rey are tag teaming. You could build it for a long time.
Yeah, and maybe you go into... I mean, could you wait till WrestleMania? And WrestleMania?
I think for the big match, I think Rey v Dominik, yeah, WrestleMania. Edge v Balor, WrestleMania, and you bring out the Demon. I mean, you've got some real good matches there. Who else? I mean, they could bring in anyone else, and you've got matches for Rhea and.
I mean, again, I said it off the cuff, but I reckon you could bring in Beth Phoenix and get Beth Phoenix for Rhea as well.
That could be cool. Yeah, it could be really good. The big one,
both,
and then you've just got something for
Priest
to do. I suppose he can just be on the side, kind of thing. But there's so much they could do with that.
Yeah,
really, there's so much they could do with it.
I genuinely think what you've just said is genius.
Thank you.
I think that's
I'll take a bow. I'm bowing for those on the podcast.
Yeah, well, I hope you're right now.
Yeah, me too. Actually, now the more I think about it. Anyway, we should probably press on because we're really going into every single thing here, aren't we? This is the build up to SummerSlam. Let's get excited. This is what happened.
Well, one thing, there's not much else from the show to mention. We got a promo at the start of the show from the Tribal Chief, Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns, which was amazing. And just, again, you can go into the promo itself. I know you like the actual promo, the back and forth with him in theory. But just the presence of Roman Reigns is insane. He's mad. Bigger than anyone else in the company by a bit. Like, he is huge.
He makes it believable that he is controlling stuff backstage. Stuff he says, it's like, you think they bother me. I'm the one doing this.
Yeah, he is
inviting Theory into his ring. It's mad, isn't it?
He is the man, the absolute man. But anyway, what do you think of the actual promo and back and forth itself with Theory and
I
Reigns.
just thought this was so good. I mean, firstly, you had an awesome promo from Heyman as well.
Yeah.
It's very similar to what we've had over the last few weeks, just saying how Brock's this powerful thing, but the Tribal Chief's going to beat him. It was still great.
Yeah.
But this promo was just so good. Roman saying, I want you to analyze the situation. Your daddy's gone.
Yeah, that
I
was
mean,
amazing.
that's hilarious. I mean, and then the fans joining in with "Who's your daddy?" chants.
Yeah.
And I think this was off the cuff. I don't think this was scripted. When Roman then said, "If he keeps messing up, the Tribal Chief's going to be his daddy." That was absolute gold. What a legend! That couldn't have been in the script, surely.
Yeah,
But
that's
Roman.
amazing.
He is the man. I mean, I get annoyed when he's not on TV and he's not there for weeks on end with the titles. That does annoy me, but I can't deny he is absolutely fantastic when he's there.
Yeah, he's number one.
Nobody could say he's bad. You just can't. Back in the Superman punch era when he was a face, he was pretty damn awful. I did not like him one bit, but now I think 99% of people surely think he's one of the top guys. He's incredible.
He is. He's on another level right now.
I just ended with Theory smacking Jay in the face with the briefcase. He loves hitting people with that briefcase, doesn't he?
He does. It's great. He's perfect for the briefcase Theory. Really, if you think about it, it does suit him so well. We then this thing kind of randomly moved on to Drew McIntyre v Theory, because Drew just came out randomly.
Well, Theory started like a proper. I thought, hey, we've got Theory in the ring again, ready to start a promo, and I thought that was quite odd. But then he got interrupted instantly, as you say, by Drew.
Yeah, and then the match just started. Anyway, that ended in DQ when we got Lashley and Sheamus involved. Then we had a tag team match.
It's chaos, isn't it?
Lashley and Drew v Theory and Sheamus. It's tag team matches you never thought you'd see. And
throwing everyone together.
Yeah, the Hurt Lock. The Hurt Lock on Theory, was it? I think from Lashley.
Yeah, and he tapped out instantly because he was trying to preserve himself, which I like. It's actual foresight. You're not. I hate it when they like go balls out before a massive match, and it's like you wouldn't do that. You would preserve yourself like Theory is, and it's very clever booking again.
It is, and then
he just works into his
super kick
character.
By the Usos as he walked out Theory, and then Reigns come back out and stood over him. Again, it's great that we are just seeing Reigns and the Bloodline and Theory and Brock. Just Theory's everywhere, and it's brilliant.
They're all everywhere, aren't they? They've got Sheamus and Drew as well. I actually really liked a spot by Lashley was going to do his usual spear through the barricade. That barricade taking way too many beatings, but then Sheamus like come out of nowhere with this massive knee and annihilated Lashley. I just thought that was a really cool segment.
That was good.
Just to give Sheamus a little bit of credit, but also the reason Lashley managed to get the Hurt Lock on was because of Ziggler. Again, Ziggler winding up Theory from the outside. So he's having this impact. They're literally using the same superstars in so many different segments. It's mental. You had Ziggler there. Next minute he's tagging with AJ. It's weird.
Yeah, it's a good use of stars, I think, to have them all.
Big time.
Have them involved all over the shop. We got a brawl between Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair in the build-up to the match. I have nothing really on that.
I loved Becky's outfit was awesome, just like all in white. I just thought it was cool. She's coming out in some awesome gear every week. I don't know if she has the creative over that, but it's just wild. It's cool. It really is cool. But yeah, again, Belair gets the one up over Becky in this instance, but nothing really much more to say, was there?
No, wasn't much on this. And then, I mean, we did get Alexa Bliss and Drew have a match. There's not much to say on that.
The only thing that really had anything kind of cool was Doudrop sitting in the ring saying, "Someone come move me," and Ronda comes out. But yeah, the match was completely pointless, and poor Alexa Bliss. I guess they're just kind of keeping her relevant on TV.
Yeah, it's just random.
Hopefully before she does something.
you want to talk about the main event?
Yes, I'd love to talk about the
Maybe,
main event.
maybe
So, surprise, surprise, we had Street Profits and Usos in the ring, but at least this time we had Riddle and Roman.
Yeah, the Bloodline as a six-man.
Yeah,
Six-man tag.
yeah. I mean, it's a rare occasion, I guess.
But Reigns doesn't wrestle much.
The real mixed bag here, because Usos and Street Profits put on amazing matches, and I don't mind watching them in the ring. But I'd love to know the stats on how many times these two or a variation have faced off. It must be, they have to be one of the top teams or people to face. It's constant. It is mad, and it makes it a little bit stale. But they do put on amazing matches. So I can't say I'm disappointed to see it again at SummerSlam, but I hope that is it. I don't want any more after that, please.
Yeah.
But the match was good. Everyone, yeah, I mean, Dawkins has really come a long way, hasn't he? We all do know Fontes Ford was great, but yeah. But everyone in the match looked really good. The crowd were pulling some huge pops here. I really like the segment where Roman blocks the RKO from being so strong. He just like launched him down. That bit looked amazing. And I love this booking of Roman being an absolute beast. I hated it when they used to make him look a bit weedy and he had to constantly cheat in. So this is how I want him booked. So when he does finally get beat, it's really impressive.
Yeah.
Roman got the spear on Riddle and got the pin. So at this moment, this is where we're rolling into my top mark. But I was thinking, where is Seth Rollins? Why hasn't Seth been on this show? He's been on every single Raw and a lot of SmackDowns as well for the last year. He's been the main man in terms of being the workhorse. And this is my top mark just because burn it down. Here he comes, crowd. Wild pop, and then he meets Roman on the ramp and just looks at him and laughs. And that to me is if this stuff with Drew doesn't work out, or maybe after that, what's Roman going to do? I think we're going to get a proper Seth and Roman feud, and I think we need it. Even with them both as heels, I think it works just because of the backstory.
Yeah.
But just the way Seth started that, laughing in his face, and then said bye-bye and just walked off. Nobody disrespects Roman like that. No. And Roman doesn't allow people to disrespect. So I think that all, I might be reading into it too much, but I just think that all plays into this story.
No, I think you're right.
And the sort of psychotic mindset that Seth has. He doesn't care who he is and who's backing him. The fact that the Usos are there. But then he gets a savage beat down on Riddle and stomps him on the steps. Then just crazy laugh. And something you don't often see with the heels, it ends with the crowds chanting Seth's music and he's just enjoying it. He's not ignoring it. It's like this weird, he reminds me of the Joker from DC, from Batman. He's crazy, isn't he? It's so amazing. What did you think of it?
Yeah, I think it was great. I think the match itself was good, really good 6-man tag. All the guys involved are all great, so that's to be expected. But I think we may be. I know it's mad to say this because he did just stomp Riddle on the stairs, but I think we may be starting to see Seth turn face soon. I don't think we're a million miles off that. The crowd, like I said, the crowd singing his music, that is a very big indicator of like.
The thing is, we started to have this before Cody arrived, and
yeah,
I think Seth's been turned even at day one, all the way back to day one when he faced Roman, and we still didn't get it. We still didn't get that turn. He's just so good in this role.
He is, and I think you bring up Cody's interesting actually, because I think you wouldn't turn him face because they're going to do Seth and Cody again, aren't they?
That story's gold. You can't get rid of that story.
Yeah, no,
you really can't.
You've actually convinced me. I was thinking maybe Seth is going to turn face, but actually I think you can't turn him face with Cody coming back anytime in the next year. You can't have Seth as anything but a heel for Seth and Cody to work. Because I wondered whether they'd turn him face and then have him and Roman, as that could be really good. But like
there's so much they could do.
Need to be face. Yeah, I mean Seth can work with anyone, heel or face. Seth, he's that good. So yeah, they can essentially do what they want with Seth, and it will work because he is the best worker they have in the company.
Oh, he's fantastic, isn't he? He really is amazing.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, you mentioned about how many times Usos and Profits have wrestled. I also want to know how many times you've had Seth Rollins as your top mark. Because
I sometimes try not to because I mean, he had match of the year from me. I am a huge Seth Rollins fan. I mean, I can't deny that.
Oh, you're the biggest.
But he just is that damn good. And again, this week had a lot on it, but everything was relatively average. There was no matches that I was like, wow. Yeah. We certainly didn't have any women's matches that I was really intrigued about. I mean, really have any? I mean, we had the Raquel match, which was good, but it definitely isn't top mark territory.
And Alexa Doudrop, I think
that was awful. Matches. So I'm not. I mean, the match wasn't awful, but it's just boring. I mean, what's the point?
It was not a good week for women's wrestling, actually.
No, there's a bit of a shame actually, but yeah. I mean, I can't help it myself. I really can't. But this is interesting because then I think it was yesterday or today, they've announced that Riddle is actually injured off of the stomp. You've had some strange stuff going on Twitter. You've also had Seth almost ranting that he's not being looked at properly, even though he's like basically what we've been saying, the workhorse of the company, always elevates everybody and puts on a 5-star match, which did feel kind of real. But these are always the best stories, aren't they? When it feels real. But then the fact that we then had later in the day Triple H replying, so basically the match at SummerSlam's off. I missed the main point there. So Riddle versus Seth is not going ahead at SummerSlam. Seth then tweets saying, well, I'm sorry to the fans that came to see me. What is a SummerSlam without me? And Triple H replies saying, I hear you. So what is going on here? Are we going to get the match anyway? Are we going to get a special guest? Is Seth going to be thrown into the main event? I mean, what's going to happen here?
Yeah, it's interesting. And it's interesting what that does with Clash only a month away as well, because are we getting Seth and Riddle there?
Depends. I mean, this does feel like a work, but is Riddle actually injured in some way, and that's why they're resting him?
Riddle's been involved a lot over the last few months. If he picks up an injury, it wouldn't be a big surprise because he's been worked into the ground for Riddle.
Yeah.
But I hope not. I hope it's. It feels like a work. It feels like one, definitely. But maybe we'll see on SmackDown, because I was going to say, they're on Raw, but the brands aren't really a big issue right now. Anyone's anywhere.
Yeah, we're recording this pre-SmackDown, so yeah, it definitely could. It definitely could go ahead, couldn't it? Could be a massive work. But yeah, I mean, overall, nothing absolutely outstanding. But I think Raw and SmackDown were pretty solid this week.
Yeah, I thought they were good shows. I think good builds towards SummerSlam, and I'm pretty hyped for SummerSlam right now at this point.
Yeah, I'm excited.
With a SmackDown to come in between, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But let's just run through NXT quickly. There wasn't a big show this week. Anything? I mean, we start with the main event, I guess, because
sure.
We had an 8-man tag, Diamond Mine versus the D'Angelo family, which was a bit chaotic, but it was good. I mean, this is the sort of match you usually see on a AEW show. I feel like these 8-man tags, big factions, feels like an AEW type match. But it's interesting. I wasn't on the pod last week, but I was surprised that, because again, we keep thinking Roddy Strong's leaving, he's breaking up, and then last week they seemed to all be back together and
be best mates again,
happy families again.
I think this is again pressuring towards that, though, isn't it? The ending here, with Strong accident. Well, it was almost like they were one-upping each other, wasn't it? You had Strong and Julius just basically just annihilating person after person, and then it ends with Roddy Strong accidentally kneeing Julius in the face and causing the loss, because Big Tony D hits just forget about it, and we get the 1, 2, 3. Was a decent match. I mean, I really like the Creeds. I've said it before. They're so explosive. Sorry, you've gone a bit quiet there, Sean.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
No, come a bit closer to your microphone.
Can you hear me?
That's better. Yeah. I'm not sure what happened there.
Oh, sorry.
We want to make sure we hear everything you say.
Yeah, make
It's
sure you hear what
important.
I say. One of the Creed brothers, I think it's Julius, the taller one.
Yes.
Really impresses me.
He's
one
mad
of them.
good.
One of them is insanely good. He kept jumping on the top rope and doing suplexes and just incredible. He was the real standout for me. Yeah.
He hit one suplex, like a normal suplex, and he released him at the top of it. And Stax went absolutely flying. One thing I can say is Stax was getting beat the hell out of. He was flying all over the ring, so he definitely had a purpose. Fair play to him.
Yeah, fair play to him. You know, it isn't a bad spot to be in, is it? I guess. But interesting that the two Legado guys seem to just.
They seem to be properly in the faction now,
yeah.
don't they?
And I'm interested to see what happens when Escobar comes back, because that's kind of not been spoke about for.
I wonder if he's coming up.
They could call Escobar up, I guess. I mean, I would prefer to call all of Legado up and have them as a trio, but yeah, maybe. It's just interesting because they seemed quite defiant for a while, and now all of a sudden they seem to just be a part of the D'Angelo family.
Yeah, they seem to have gone in quite nicely. It was pretty good, to be fair, though. I didn't mind this. They all worked very well. They're all good wrestlers, so it was definitely decent.
Yeah, it was good. That was probably the highlight of NXT, I would say.
I mean, we had lots of women stuff going on. I mean, we've got Zoe Stark back now, haven't we? She let off a little promo. I must say, Cora Jade came out, and her promo, it was great. She has come on leaps and bounds. I mean, I was really critical back in the day, mainly of her wrestling, but her promo work has just gone insane. I'm really impressed. I look forward to seeing what she can do.
I completely agree. I think this is a good role for her. I was intrigued when she turned heel, and I think so far so good.
Definitely.
So then we had Zoe Stark. She actually opened the show, Zoe Stark, for a promo.
She did, yeah.
Got interrupted by Cora and then Toxic, and then it set up a GG.
Toxic were absolutely everywhere, weren't they?
They were, and this is like the start of 2.0 when Toxic Attraction were the main attraction of 2.0, and they feel a bit more like that. I mean, I think this is how they should be booked. I think they're really good. One of the best things in NXT, I would argue. Toxic, I think they're a really strong faction, and I thought Gigi was really good on the mic as well. I thought she really did well on the mic, and then they got into their match, Zoe and Gigi, which obviously Zoe Stark won, and we have that match. I don't know if it's next week, but it's at their next named show.
Yeah,
I've forgotten the name of it already.
What it's called. Yeah, I've forgotten the name as well.
Heatwave.
I was going to say Sandy Shores, so yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, Heatwave, yeah.
Sandy Shores. Yeah.
They probably showed a picture of some sand or a beach or something.
Yeah, I think it's called Heatwave.
I guess we should carry on talking about the women's wrestling then. So
yeah,
we have had an announcement for a fatal 4-way tag team match, which is next week, I think.
Yeah.
Or is this going to be at Sandy Shores? I mean, Heatwave.
It could be at Sandy Shores. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know when Heatwave is. It could be next week. I don't know.
And this involves Toxic Attraction, and this is all because Cora Jade put the title in the bin. But yeah, we've got Toxic Attraction, Ivy Nile, and Tatum Paxley, which they insulted and said they're not a tag team, but then they got into a big fight. Kaden Carter, and I've forgotten her new name, but it's Catanzaro, isn't it?
Katana Chance.
That's it, Katana Chance. And then I can't remember the tag team's name, but I do enjoy them in ring.
Yeah, Valentina Ferrage and Luisa Leon.
I mean, it's random that they've just been thrown in, but also good that we're going to see this tag team. Yeah, it is good. I'm quite looking forward to seeing Ivy Nile, to be fair, in a tag team, so she actually gets to do something. And I think Paxley is a good wrestler.
Yeah, I mean, do you have any early predictions? Who do you think to be the tag team champs?
I mean, it wouldn't be crazy to say that Toxic's going to pick them up again.
Toxic. I think they do Kaden and Katana.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think they deserve it.
Because they're one of the only proper tag teams in NXT. They've always been a tag team, so I think it just
and they're pretty good on the mic as well, aren't they? And very good in ring.
And they're kind of turning heel, aren't they, as well? So
yes, which is quite nice.
For them.
The person who actually, which I forgot to mention, announced this was actually Alundra.
Alundra Blaze.
And Fax Fisher told me earlier that they mentioned this on the show, but I actually got it wrong and thought it was the wrong title. That she actually put the women's title in the bin in her run. So this is quite interesting because obviously Cora Jade put the title in the bin. So I guess gives a little link there, brings the legend onto the screen.
I mean, it makes more sense than Jeff Jarrett, doesn't it? I guess.
Yeah.
It makes a bit of sense. But this is an interesting direction because I thought them throwing the title in the bin was their way of writing the tag team titles off, and they were just realizing we don't need tag team titles anymore. We don't have it on the roster. We don't need it here. But they're going back to it, which is interesting because I thought that was the reason for what they did.
Triple H.
So we got the tag team titles back up.
Sorry, Keeney, we're losing you when you look away. You're going to have to stare right into my eyes or the camera so everyone can see you. Sorry about our audio issues there, but if you're on YouTube or not on YouTube, Keeney's going to stare down the camera now.
Stare right into the camera for the rest of the show. So I think I've lost the train of thought. The tag team titles I thought were going, but they're not. So that's good.
Did we have any more women's wrestling on the show? That was basically what most of it was about, wasn't it?
We had Indy Hartwell beat.
Oh, of course we did. Yeah.
Ariana Grace in a bit of a nothing match.
Yeah, there wasn't too much to that, was there? Apart from Indy winning.
Wendy Chu had some nightmares.
Yeah, I'm not interested in Wendy Chu in the slightest.
Cool.
Apologies if anyone's a massive fan, but I'm certainly not now. That's definitely ship has sailed.
That ship has sailed. Yeah.
Waller and Wesley. To be honest, it's a bit of an understated match, but actually I thought it was really good. I'm really happy the way that they've used Wesley's situation to build a great story. Waller really works well in this because he's such an ass, isn't he? I mean, he brings out the aggression in Wesley, and then you got Trick Williams knock out Wesley with a boxing glove. When Waller gets the finish with his awesome finisher, which I really do like. But that was a good match.
It was. I like the story they're telling with Wesley, with his road to redemption story. Is quite cool, and I think he's got good potential. Wesley, I think he's got, for someone I thought could have got released when they released his tag team partner. I think he's actually got good potential now. So I think he's done well. Well, they've done well with Wesley. We had Apollo Crews beat Zion Quinn.
Zion Quinn's a strange one because he's very good and he seems quite popular, but he doesn't seem to get booked in a very good way, does he?
No, he doesn't. He has the look, Zion Quinn. They don't have a role for him yet, I don't think. He's kind of a bit lost.
Loses a lot, doesn't he?
Yeah, he might be someone who does better on the main roster, Zion Quinn. I think he could be one of those. Well, in NXT, I just don't think he's going to do anything. Whereas I think maybe main roster, he could have a purpose. But nice to see Apollo Crews. We haven't seen him wrestle too much since he moved down. Doesn't really have a storyline as of yet. But
no, he looks good.
He got the win here. Very different to his main roster character. But good. We also saw another guy you love as well, JD McDonagh, with a interesting promo coming up through the crowd.
I'm interested to know what you think about this one.
Yeah, insulted everyone and was basically saying how he could hurt people, wasn't he? He, was saying that he got to Vic. Is it Vic Joseph?
Yeah.
And said that he could break his shoulder if he wanted, and just interesting. I mean, I quite liked it. I like this JD McDonagh. He's someone who didn't get a lot of mic time on NXT UK. He got a bit, but not a lot. And I think from what I've seen of him, he's actually really good. Really good.
I think he is very talented. I don't know if this really got across very well with the fans, but then again, it's a very good way of making him an extreme heel. He did make me laugh when he was going through everyone and he said how many people have died eating popcorn or something. But then the next thing, he just spoke to Alicia Taylor and said she had a nice voice.
Yeah.
I think this was a real good promo. Something different as well. Almost emphasizing again, he's not the biggest of guys, is he? So I think he's demonstrating how he can hurt people anyway. He's just savage, isn't it? It's believable that he could beat Braun. I mean, I like that.
Yeah,
that's a good thing.
I agree with that.
100% prefer this to the Gacy feud by a mile.
Oh, 100%, yeah. 100%. We did see another promo on Gacy, the Schism, as they're now called. I think it's a stupid name, the Schism, but I don't like it. But I can't remember their new names, but Gibson and Drake.
What a transformation, especially Gibson.
Yeah, I mean, it all looks great, but not great. You know, they look quite cool, but then he talks in his Scouse accent. It just sounds ridiculous.
He's trying not to, isn't he?
Yeah, it would help him out a lot if he wasn't Scouse, I think. Unfortunately, but yeah, I mean, let's see what they do. At least Crystal Young Vets are back on our TV and doing something, because we didn't see them for a long time.
They're a fantastic tag team, so I'm excited to see them. That's the problem. I just hope they're in the ring. I don't want them to just stand around at the side, because they're brilliant in ring.
Yeah, we should see them soon, I reckon. The only other match I think on the card we haven't mentioned yet is Giovanni Vinci.
And Andre Chase. You know what?
Win.
If there was an NXT top mark, I think this would get it. I forgot about that.
I think you might be right, actually. Yeah,
this was an absolute banger. And I was thinking, who'd have thought that Andre Chase... I mean, we know that Giovanni Vinci is an amazing wrestler, and he was always the better out of him and Ludwig Kaiser, in my opinion. I just thought this was an amazing match. So many near falls and constant high pace was so good, and you got Giovanni with the win. Absolute banger.
Yeah, and then we had the honorary Chase U student, Nathan Fraser, who kind of like slid in at the end. So I think we're going to get Nathan Fraser versus Vinci.
Oh, that match, those matches, be a great match. Going to be incredible.
I mean, Vinci's just so good. I really think they could have put him in with the Maximum Male models. I think that could have been a good spot for him. If they were changing,
I think he's too good for it, because I think they're going to waste that.
Yeah, no, you might be right. He's definitely better than Mansoor and Mace. Yeah, so
it's amazing the transformation, because I never saw him as like this sort of real trimmed guy, and I mean his physique's incredible, but they've completely transformed him. It's mad. It's amazing how a bit of a beard trim and a bit of makeup can just completely change the character. Yeah. He's very talented. I hope we do see him on the roster eventually, on the main roster eventually. I think he could do well.
Yeah, I think so. But at the moment, every match he's having is I say, to get a great match for Andre Chase, who's not so far never really produced. He had a great one with Apollo Crews the other week. And I think the Nathan Fraser one, when it comes around, will be really good as well. So yeah, I think he's probably one of the better wrestlers on NXT right now.
Definitely.
Weird we didn't see any Carmelo Hayes this week or Cameron Grimes, because they've been on quite a lot recently, but they just weren't on the show, which was a bit.
Yeah, I suppose you had Trick Williams to sort of progress.
Yeah, it's just odd to not see Carmelo. He's on every week, Carmelo.
Yeah. It was a full show, I guess.
It was notable. He wasn't there. I did notice that. Anything else from NXT before we wrap up?
I don't think so. I think we've gone over everything. We've done well. Fax Fisher hopefully will be pleased with us.
He will. We've mentioned all the segments.
I mean, there's tiny little segments, but I don't think we need to go into those.
Even Fax Fisher wouldn't tell us off for that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he might do. But yeah, hopefully everyone's enjoyed that.
Yeah, so we are going to go recharge our batteries, as mentioned at the top of the pod. At the top of the pod, if you haven't,
top of the pods.
Top of the pods. If you haven't yet followed us on Twitter, follow us at Recharge Wrestle. Find us on YouTube, Recharge Wrestling. Good time to follow us on YouTube actually, because we're going to have the weekly content, but we have Clash of the Castle round the corner, and there will be a lot of video content and stuff from Clash of the Castle we will be putting on our page as well. So that'll be one to check out once that's done. But you know, you can check it out on Twitter as well. We'll be posting stuff on Twitter. Try and get a bit more active on Twitter. We've been a bit quiet, I think, for a while, so we need to get back on that. So it's a good time to follow us on Twitter as well. It's a good time to get involved with Recharge Wrestling. But we need to charge our batteries up. But before we do, actually, I just remembered we will be running, as Cressy mentioned before, a prediction. We're running it all year, the Predictions League. The winner gets a WWE or AW t-shirt from the boys at Recharge of your choosing. So it is definitely worth getting involved. It's not too late. Plenty of pay-per-views to go. There's a lot of time, and no one's doing that great. It's not like there's a standout performer. So definitely worth getting involved. Check out our Twitter for that, where you can see the tweets, and that's how you can get involved. So do that, recharge your batteries, and we will see you the same time next week.
Thank you. Bye.
Cheers.